Good morning, internets. Alrighty, well, it is 8:30 in the a.m. and it is 94 degrees, and the forecast for today is well up over 100, so that should be a good time. This stage of summer in Las Vegas, I start to get pretty worn out on the weather. It's just, the forecast is unbearable for the foreseeable future. Please enjoy. Trying to get through that. I had a lot of good comments on yesterday's video. Thank you everybody for participating, but one of the comments I feel needs addressing, and so we're going to talk about something very important today. And that is why I prefer Batman over Iron Man. And this is very serious. I can't even keep a straight face. But I'm super serious about why I like Batman better than Iron Man. This is going to be a wild ride, so stick with me, okay? So there are some key differences between Batman and Iron Man. First of all, I'm not one of those people who's loyal to DC over Marvel. So it's not a DC Marvel thing, so we could chill out about that. I think we could all agree that, like, comic book wise, because I don't know if you guys knew this about me, giant comic book nerd, but like actually reading the books, Avengers is way better than Justice League. Like, we all know this, and the box office numbers know it, and we all know this. The hotness of the current Wonder Woman and Aquaman notwithstanding, but like, I mean, really, it is better, and Marvel tends to be the big giant over DC, over Detective Comics. So I mean, it makes that franchise, it makes a lot more money. It always has made a lot more money. And you know what? I love Marvel so much, and I love Stan Lee so much, that I went to Stan Lee's Kamikaze when it first started out, and elbowed folks and did what I had to do to get to the front of a crowd of people to do a Q&A with Stan Lee and ask him questions. I nerded out so hard. It was amazing. So I don't have a problem with Marvel. I don't have a problem with Stan Lee. Obviously, he's an American treasure. But I prefer Batman. Batman is my favorite superhero because, as I said yesterday, with enough rage and enough money, I could conceivably be Batman. There are no powers that separate Batman from me. Batman was, trained up by Ra's al Ghul. So I basically just need a kung fu mentor, which I've already almost sort of had. I had a lot of martial arts experience when I was a kid, in jiu-jitsu. So it's basically the same thing. I'm basically halfway to Batman, right? All right, maybe not. I like Batman. Batman has history that Iron Man doesn't have. And, Batman's been around a lot longer. Let's see, what are some other things about Batman that are superior to Iron Man? Let's see. Iron Man was never played by Adam West. So suck on that. And then, of course, there is the ultimate deciding factor, and this is where the carness comes in. The Batmobile! Now, I understand that Tony Stark is a super genius mega billionaire, very similar to Bruce Wayne. I get that. I understand that Tony Stark has a much better sense of humor than Bruce Wayne, who essentially has no sense of humor whatsoever. And I understand that given those things, I really should prefer Tony Stark to Bruce Wayne. I really should prefer Iron Man to Batman, but I do not. And here is why. Because a man named George Barris, you guys ready for this? A man named George Barris took a 1955 Ford Futura concept vehicle worth at the time $250,000, which is roughly, I don't know, after inflation and everything, it's roughly $10 trillion in today money. My math might be a little off there. But it was an extremely valuable vehicle, of which there was only one. And in just 3 weeks, in 1966, he produced the double bubble Batmobile out of that car, and for that beloved TV show. He took an 11-year-old concept car that was never intended for production, so many of the pieces on it weren't firmly attached. The outside of it was done for, display purposes, for this is our concept car for the Futura. But the interior pieces were not really well together. I mean, the concept car was never designed to be driven. It was never designed to be used on the daily. And Barris, in just 3 weeks, turned out that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful machine. And there were a couple of them made over the years. The television show gained popularity, and it was a magnificent vehicle, and the original one is here in Las Vegas. So there is one that is still driving around town, and I have seen it, and there is a video in this channel of me seeing it, and basically holding back tears, because we had just lost Adam West when I saw the car. He had just died, and I was pretty destroyed about that when that happened. And then I went out and, like, at my regular hometown car show that, you know, I'm at every Saturday when weather permits, there it was. There was the Batmobile. There was. And it was signed by Burt Ward. Now, it was not signed on the dash by Adam West, which would have definitely been the cherry on top of that. But it was signed by Burt Ward, and he played Robin. And Batman needs his Robin, guys. Like, he just does. So, you know, I'm not going to say that Iron Man doesn't have cool cars, because Iron Man obviously does have cool cars. Tony freaking Stark, he can drive whatever the hell he wants. I mean, we've seen the scene in the first Iron Man movie where he has that giant garage, and there's, you know, the Shelby, and there's a bunch of other high-dollar cars in there, but I think the only one I really remember is the Cobra. I can't remember any other cars in Iron Man's garage. All right, it's been a while since I've seen it. But see, it's because I like Batman so much better. All right, so now we've talked about the car, and we'll get back to the car probably, because I'm pretty much obsessed with it. But now let's talk about, you know, dueling franchises and media options for these. Batman, the animated series that came out in the 1990s, was pretty much just a direct from book to screen adaptation of a couple of different series of the books, but it included the Shadow of the Bat, and these were really, really adult storylines. These were very adult concepts that they put in an animated cartoon series that they showed on Saturday mornings that may or may not have been obsessed upon by a tiny me. Batman had better villains. Especially Batman the Animated Series, had the freaking Joker. And some people say that Heath Ledger was the best Joker, and he was freaking awesome. And some people say that Jack Nicholson was the best Joker, and he was freaking awesome. But I maintain, and I will fight anyone to the death, I will, that Mark Hamill is the best Joker. His voice, still to this day, when you hear like Mark Hamill in an interview do just a little bit of the Joker, if he lets out the cackle at all, like it I don't know, it like liquefies my spine. I'm like, ah, like he was a really scary freaking bad guy. And I mean, just pure evil, like evil incarnate, the freaking Joker, like cruel and vicious and conniving and ridiculous. That cartoonish, over the top, purple suit wearing, machine gun blasting, City of Gotham poisoning freaking madman, right? The damn Joker, like there's a bad guy. Freaking awesome. And you know, every once in a while you would have to deal with a Batman love interest. You know, Bruce Wayne would date somebody, but mostly it would never really interfere too much. Like it would have to come up and stuff. And you could say more or less the same for Iron Man. You know, there was the whole thing with Pepper Potts, and they made a much bigger deal about that in the books than they did in the movies. Thank God. Although I don't have anything bad to say about Paltrow's performance as Pepper Potts, but whatever. Friggin' Batman. It's, I don't know, it's Batman all day long. It's Batman all the way. I mean, I don't carry a purse. I make and wear utility belts, and like we'll get into that some other time. But purses are nonsense, and anybody who calls my utility belt a fanny pack, we're gonna fight. I wear a utility belt because my spirit animal is Batman. And that is why when the kids saw Batman at the thrift shop, the giant Batman action figure, they got him for me, and that is why he lives in my car with me. Batman is my co-pilot. And I think I will make a t-shirt that reflects that and get that up in the shop. Whoever suggested that, thank you so much. But that's why I like Batman better. Double bubble Batmobile! And every time they reinvent the franchise? The franchise? That doesn't make sense. The franchise. Every time they recast Batman, every time, you know, we need a new Batman. Every time we're like, oh, it's Christian Bale now, or oh, let's go back a little further. Oh, it's George Clooney. That's a weird choice for Batman. Like, can we all agree that George Clooney is a really weird choice for Batman? far too relaxed, far too chill. I don't know if it's all that tequila he's producing. I guess the movie came out before then. But whatever the thing of it, being George Clooney is clearly too easy, and I don't think, like, it was a very entertaining movie to watch. Uma Thurman was a ridiculous but totally hot Poison Ivy, and that was great. The way they treated Bane was very much the original, brainless goon tough guy thing. I like that movie a lot, but I mean, D'Artagnan was Robin, because I can't remember his name right now, and and George Clooney was freaking Batman. Not a great Batman, but anyway, anytime they recast Batman, Val Kilmer, good, and Beetlejuice, freaking, wasn't Keaton Batman at one point? Anyway, anytime we get a new Batman, we get a new Batmobile. There's a new car, and most of the time there's flames coming out of the back of it. That's awesome. Now I know Iron Man has a suit, and the flames shoot out of it, and it launches rockets and all kinds of amazing stuff. I cannot build myself an Iron Man suit that'll really do stuff. I can. They make kits. I can absolutely build myself a Batmobile, and maybe it won't come when called, and maybe when I hit the red button in the middle, it won't really call Alfred, but it will go. And with a little bit of know-how, if I believe in myself hard enough, I bet I can get it to shoot flames out of the back. People have flames shooting out of the back of their cars all the time on accident. I bet I could do it on purpose. Can't be that hard. Come on. Batman, Batmobile. Iron Man doesn't have a Batarang. I mean, he doesn't need one because he has lasers and rockets. So maybe, all right, that wasn't as amazing. But grappling hook gun. How amazing when you're a kid. Come on. Like, you can't be Tony Stark when you're a kid because you can't flip and fly. But you can absolutely tie a coat hanger on the end of a bed sheet and go swinging that around the house, breaking stuff, and get grounded for being Batman. You can absolutely do, or so I've heard. you can conceivably be Batman. Like, it's easier to pretend to be Batman, and there's something in, like, my inner angsty teenager, just like that dark, brooding, just joyless defender of the night thing, like that particular fantasy. Like, outwardly, guys, I am bouncy and adorable, and I can't help myself. I have to put hair bows with every outfit. I cover myself in glitter as often as possible. That's my true nature. But there's a part of me deep down inside that wishes to be freaking Batman. I want to be dark and brooding and jump around the city and stand on rooftops. I am the knight. Come on, I want to be Batman. Don't you want to be Batman? And, like, Tony Stark's cool. Like, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. There's the snarkiness of Tony Stark sort of takes away some of the heroicism in a lot of the comic books for me. I think, now that having been said, with the Marvel movies and Robert Downey Jr. sort of being the linchpin in the center of all that cast as Iron Man in the movies, freaking magnificent. They could not have done a better job of casting him. They couldn't have done a better job with wardrobe. They couldn't have done a better job with special effects. The writing has been awesome. I don't have anything bad to say about it. I just prefer Batman. If you like Iron Man better, that's awesome. But I don't think all fictional, eccentric billionaires who choose to be superheroes are created equal. They are different. We definitely have Iron Man and Batman sort of, on they're two sides of the same coin, one side being Marvel and one side being DC. But DC is always, and this is the other thing that separates Marvel from DC. DC has always been about presenting readers with characters that they could look up to, characters that were like their parents, characters that were like mentors. And Marvel has always been good at presenting readers with characters that they want to be. So Batman being, the greatest detective, that's, has always been his moniker for DC Comics, Detective Comics. And he's kept DC alive. Batman has always been a force for morality, a force for good. He's never vengeful. And one of the common themes is that Batman struggles with that vengeance. He struggles with the difference between vengeance and justice. And it's a very real problem for Batman. Like, they bring it up, and Bruce Wayne struggles with it all the time. It's a central feature in a lot of the stories. It's a very central theme. Whereas Marvel will present you with a character like Iron Man, or the character like Tony Stark, who is self-serving and ego-driven or he'll present you with a character like Wolverine, who is a loner and Wolverine not terribly interested in justice outwardly. It's not until he makes connections with friends at Professor X's academy that he even starts to care about the greater good of the world. And mostly he's just got that dark, brooding adolescent spirit where, and then Wolverine's a really good example of this for me. Wolverine is the kind of character that you, like, when you're between the ages of 12 and 16, that you can really identify with, because he hates everything. He's a rebel. Again, he's broody, but there's not really sense of justice there. There's a lot of scenes with Wolverine where there's a tough guy at a bar talking a bunch of smack, and Wolverine will actually initiate some sort of contact. He'll actually initiate some sort of confrontation, and that is the immature thing to do, whereas Batman and a lot of the DC characters in general will do the other thing. So DC produces characters that are more like parents, and Marvel produces characters that are more like kids. There's no right or wrong here. One is not better than the other. They are just very different. If you're thinking, I cannot believe Katherine has thought this much about any of it, you're not the only one who feels that way about my reaction to comic books, but they're very important to me. I liked comic books when I was a kid for the same reason that my two favorite stories are the Iliad and the Odyssey. And following a close third to that, I think I'd probably tie them all: Iliad, Odyssey, and Gilgamesh. And I don't culturally see a difference between those ancient epics and modern day comic books. And the stories are inspiring and wonderful, and they have these larger than life heroes that get thrown into these massive conflicts that are bigger than themselves, and they have to find a way to navigate those conflicts. Those are the central themes of the Odyssey. Those are the central themes of the Iliad. Those are the central themes of Gilgamesh. And those are the central themes of comic books. And as an individual person, like, I'm just a person. I just drove to work and parked at the magazine, and I'm just going to go about my day, but I'm going to encounter things in my life that feel larger than life, that feel like that they're a lot bigger than me. And everybody is, you hope, everybody is the hero in their own epic. And I think there's part of that that's romantic to me, but that there's some sort of escapism there where if you could see Batman overcome the loss of his parents in order and use that vile, vengeful energy to go out into the world and bring justice to the city of Gotham, like, if he could manage to do that, then I could probably make somebody's day better today. I could probably, you know what I mean? If I don't have to save all of Gotham today. I maybe just could help somebody out at the office or be nice to somebody in the store. And maybe that sounds weird to you. Maybe you're like, ew, I don't need Batman for that. Well, you know what? Some people go to church and some people have Batman and some people have both. So whatever it is that gets you through the day. And I like comic books. So that is why I like Batman over Iron Man. And I'm going to bring it all back around to that George Barris Batmobile. It is iconic. It is magnificent. Everything George Barris ever touched turned to gold, and that one in particular is my favorite because it combines two things that I love, which is cars and comic books in the most perfect way possible. And I love concept cars, and they took a one-of-a-kind concept car and made it into something that is never going to be forgotten. It's part of the fabric of American television history, and it's I don't know. It's something we all know as soon as you see it, even if you never and that show was out of syndication by the time I was born. So for me to be able to see that, you know what I mean, and see it later, and I had my parents made sure that I saw it because it was, I even remember my very first episode, and it was the one with the shark repellent where, Batman's leaning out of the helicopter and he's pulled Robin up into the helicopter and they're being attacked by the giant rubber shark. It's very scary. And he reaches into the utility belt, and what does he have there? A big giant canister labeled shark repellent, and he sprays it on the shark, and the shark, and the shark falls down and they get away. And I was like, what is this? This is amazing. What is even shark repellent? I have to get some. I was a really, really little kid, but it rocked my world. And, Batman, pow, boom, biff. Like, I was 5 years old. It was amazing. That's awesome. Like, it is totally relatable when you're a little kid. It was live action cartoons, and I've always loved cartoons. I still love cartoons. I watch cartoons every day. And it was awesome. It was amazing. And Adam West was awesome, and Burt Ward was awesome, and everybody who was in the show was awesome. And the writing was very often just terrible. But I didn't care, because Batman was so cool, and it has a special place in my heart for that reason. And the freaking Batmobile, like, and then later, like, they had Batgirl, and they put her on a purple moped, I think is what it was, but they gave her, like, the Batcycle, and that was cool too. They had girls. They could do stuff. I mean, now those girls had to do stuff in either really tight pants or mini skirts, and always in stiletto heels. And that part, I guess, a little rude and sexist. I don't wear high heels, but they had girls, and it was, I don't know, it was fun for me. And I've always liked all of those things. I like all the comic books though, not just Marvel and not just, you know, DC, but everything. And Dark Horse, I like all the franchises. I can find something to like about all of them. But Batman is my personal favorite. If you viewers out there want to have a Batman debate, I am down. But I support whatever it is that you are fans of, and would like to hear why you are fans of it. I know this had nothing to do with electric cars, but it did have something to do with cars. Somebody pointed out that Batman and Iron Man are basically the same thing. And I just had to say that, nah. So that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thanks so much for coming with me on my commute on my way to My Vegas Magazine. And it's about time to get inside. So I've had a really good time talking to you guys about Batman. I really like when I get to interact with everybody in the comment section. So please let me know what you think today. And I hope everybody's having a really great day. And I'm going to leave it right there. Right, Batman? Yeah, that's right. If this is your first time on the channel, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing right over here. Here's some other things I think you'll enjoy right down here. My name is Katherine. This is EVs of Nevada. Please remember to like, subscribe, and smile! Unless you're Batman. Batman doesn't smile.